All right, legends, grab yourself a drink and pull up a chair, because this week at the Alternative Pub, we're heading back nearly a century to a time when horror cinema was still figuring out what it even was. The 1930s weren't just the birth of classic monsters. They were the foundation of everything we now recognise as horror. And for context, it's important to remember what was going on at the time for people who went and saw these films. The Great Depression was hanging heavy over society. Europe was drifting towards another world war, and audiences wanted two things from cinema: escape and emotion. And horror delivered both. These films introduced monsters that weren't just scary, they reflected anxiety about science, outsiders, the unknown, and the fear that something ancient and mysterious might invade modern civilization. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Or you can just call me a tosser in the comments. It's up to you, really. Anyway, let's get into it. Coming in at number 5, White Zombie from 1932. Now look, this film definitely has its critics. Even back when it was released, people debated its pace and storytelling. But personally, I'm a massive Bela Lugosi fan, so this one works for me. Lugosi, honestly, he barely needs any dialogue in this film. Those eyes alone could carry a scene. And what I really love here is the atmosphere. The movie feels dreamlike, almost hypnotic. Foggy plantations, eerie silence, people robbed of free will. It creates this strange, unsettling mood that sticks with you. Before zombies became flesh-eating apocalypse machines, they were rooted in folklore about control, identity, and losing autonomy. That idea, in a way, feels far more creepier psychologically. It's slow, yes, but it's dripping with mood. And sometimes horror isn't about speed, it's about that slow, creeping sense of dread. Number 4 on the list is King Kong. Now, imagine yourself seeing this for the first time in a cinema in 1933. There was no CGI. Blockbusters like Jaws or Jurassic Park, they weren't a thing. I mean, being back there, sitting in the cinema, and suddenly you're seeing a giant ape climbing the Empire State Building, it must have blown people's minds. The stop motion effects were revolutionary. But what makes King Kong endure is the symbolism behind it. America at the time saw itself as the modern new world, industrial, progressive, unstoppable. And Kong represents the fear that something ancient and mysterious from the old world might still exist beyond civilization's control. And when that unknown is dragged into New York, the very heart of modern America, chaos follows. But here's the genius part. Kong isn't the villain. He's misunderstood, captured, and exploited. So even in 1933, horror was already asking audiences to sympathize with the monsters, something that the genre would return to again and again. Number 3 on the list is one of my all-time favorite movies, Freaks. And I will hold my hands up, I am an absolute sucker for freak show stories. If it is in a movie or a TV show, I am 100% there for it. I just find it a really fascinating and eerie slice of Americana. And 1932's Freaks is the granddaddy of them all. Directed by Todd Browning, this film caused massive controversy when it was released because it featured real-life freak show performers. Studios panicked, the film was cut heavily, and some cinemas outright refused to show it. But watching it, you realize something powerful. The film flips expectations completely. Hans is essentially an innocent. He's just looking for love and acceptance. Meanwhile, Cleopatra and Hercules, the so-called beautiful normal people, they're the ones that are the truly grotesque characters. Their cruelty exposes the real horror, which is human arrogance and exploitation. Yes, the revenge scene, it's brutal, but emotionally, you understand why it happens. It's one of the earliest horror films to say, maybe the monsters aren't the outsiders, maybe they're us. And honestly, that idea still hits hard today. Coming in at number 2 is an undeniable horror classic, Frankenstein. This film has endured for nearly more than a century because it works on multiple levels as a horror, tragedy, and morality tale. And here's the key idea. The real monster isn't the creature, it's Dr. Frankenstein. He gives life without responsibility. He creates consciousness without compassion. And he abandons his creation in a world guaranteed to reject him. That's the curse. Boris Karloff's performance is absolutely legendary. With limited dialogue, he paints a picture for the audience of the monster as a confused, almost childlike creature, searching for understanding in a world that responds with fear. The famous scene with the little girl by the lake still feels more heartbreaking than horrifying. The creature finds a rare moment of happiness, and unintentionally it ends in tragic horror, reinforcing the sense of being doomed to damnation for his creator's sins. The emotional complexity Boris Karloff brought to the role, it can't be overstated. And it's part of the reason Frankenstein has never disappeared from popular culture. You will bring me a fresh bite. Sorry. Anyway, number 1 on the list is Dracula, the film that turned Bela Lugosi into an immortal horror icon. From the moment Lugosi appears, he completely owns the screen. I mean, the voice, the stare, the stillness. He doesn't chase his victims, he draws them in. And early in the film, he gets incredible support from Dwight Frye as Renfield, whose descent into madness is genuinely unsettling. But what really makes Dracula work is its deeper theme. Once again, we see fear of the old world invading the new, an ancient aristocratic evil traveling from mysterious European castles into modern Western society. It reflects cultural anxieties of the time, the unknown crossing borders, threatening modern life, and yet Dracula is charismatic, elegant, almost seductive, and that makes him far more dangerous than any monster roaring or stomping through cities. The film didn't just create a character, it created the blueprint for cinematic vampires forever. So there we have it, my top 5 horror movies from the 1930s. A decade where horror wasn't just about the scares, it was about identity, fear of change, science gone too far, and outsiders existing in a world that feared them. Nearly 100 years later, these films still work. Maybe the effects are simpler, maybe the pacing is slower, but the ideas, they're still timeless. Let me know in the comments what movies would make your 1930s horror list. And anyway, cheers.